Yes, folks, we are back and we are live with another leg of the Mainframe Comic-Con. I'm your host with the most, Drew Manchu, baby. And we got a great panel for you guys tonight. These are two really awesome creators. We got David Avallone, who's going to be talking to Rylan Grant about everything that Rylan has going on. These two men are absolute sweethearts who have been endlessly patient with my terrible email chains over the past month, and I really, really appreciate that. Say hello to your host, David Avallone, and your guest of honor, Ringo Award winner, Rylan Grant. I'm going to get out of your hair, guys, and let you have conversation.
I see Ryland has not loaded yet. Ryland.
He was there a minute ago. Let's take him off.
He's having some website, some Wi-Fi issues.
I think he became a robot.
Yeah. We can talk about what a nice guy he is, though.
We certainly can.
We can talk about my shaved head, which is brand new.
I see you look nothing like your the pictures you sent, your headshot.
I know, and I'm very sensitive to the idea of branding, so I shaved, I think, before I knew I was doing this.
We've got double Ryland, and there we go.
Hey, guys. Yeah.
It looks like you're working now. I will step back and let you gentlemen get to chopping it up about all things Rylan Grant. Big fan of both of y'all, and excited to have you here.
Thank you, Drew.
Howdy, guys.
Hey, Ryland, how are you?
Not too bad. I'm enjoying the quarantine cut.
We were just talking about how I've traded my Jim Gordon cosplay for Lex Luthor cosplay, and I don't know how I feel about it.
That's really funny. I mean, it's I shaved my head for about 17 years, and my wife hated like every minute of it. We've been together for close to 20 now, and so she made me grow it back like pretty recently, a few years back. So like I have this,
Oh wow!
I have more hair now. I have more hair now than I've ever had in my life.
By the way, Rylan and I are we're going to talk exclusively about men's grooming.
Men's grooming, yeah, exactly.
We'll not be talking about comic books at all. Sorry if that's disappointing for everybody.
Speaking of that, like Alec, who was the host on the previous stream, like is clearly winning the quarantine beard competition. I mean, that was like
I saw that.
I've never been more jealous of like a man's facial hair in my life. That was just like and he had kind of like a Jason Momoa thing going on with like the thing on top. I mean, he was looking slick because I saw him not too long ago at the Baltimore Comic Con. And I think his hair was short. Like I think he was like pretty clean cut and stuff like that. So he's that look is working for him. I'm digging it.
That was the impetus behind this. I realized I'm probably not getting a haircut for another 2 months. So I was like, well, I'll shave it off and it'll very slowly. So now I'm a human chia pet for a couple of months.
Yeah, I wish I could do the beard thing. Like I grow a beard and it kind of looks like pubic hair, and then also I'm starting to. It's the one way in which I think I'm starting to show my age like big time. Is that it gets really gray, and so if I grow a beard, it adds 10 years to my the estimate. So and I guess what I should say is that if it's not clear, Avallone and I are old friends. So this is kind of us just checking in with each other before we get to you guys. So just hang on for a minute.
What did you do before comic books, Rylan? What were you doing before you started writing comic books?
Yeah, so I missed the intro, so I don't know what he covered. Did he introduced me, said what my books were and all that stuff?
Ringo Award. That was about it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. My name is Rylan Grant. I was for I have been for about 15 years now a screenwriter in Hollywood. I write mostly big poppy action movies. I've written for Ridley Scott, J.J. Abrams, Luc Besson, Justin Lin, F. Gary Gray.
Bunch of losers that never worked.
Yeah. So, just dirtbags. And so about 4 years ago now, I decided to swerve into the comic lane. Comics are always my first love, and I've had 2 books out now. Banjax, which is the most recent one, kind of like a Death Wish with superheroes, and then the Ringo Award-winning Aberrant, which is kind of a sort of love letter to 70s paranoid spy thrillers.
And so much fun. I love that book.
Oh, thanks.
Someone did ask White Russian, and Yes, correct. This is a Caucasian. We have a Caucasian here.
Watch the beverage, man. Yeah.
If there's if there's anything I've learned about doing these, it's day drinking. It's vital to
Yeah,
the
it's
organization.
good.
So what made you jump into comics, and what was what door opened that you were able to walk through?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm trying to figure out how to get this across without using up all our time. But so it was it was twofold. One, things got a whole lot easier. Like making creator-owned comics got a lot easier. Like I tried to do it in college years ago, but it was like all of the drawing, all the art was physical back then. You had to basically know an artist in your town. Revisions were a pain in the ass, and so basically tried it and fell on my face. Again, comics were my first love. Then I had to settle for this whole fucking movie career thing.
If they were your first love, what was the first comic that you loved? What got you into it?
Well, yeah, I mean that's a complicated question. I mean, I was one of those rubes that what got me into a comic shop was was the death of Superman. That whole collecting boom. But then then once I was in there, I mean, the Image Revolution was happening, and that was very exciting. And but it was really the back issue bins. This whole thing is about kind of giving back to the comics community, and we're trying to support our local comic shops. And it was a very smart, very helpful, very nurturing comic shop owner that showed me the back issue bins. And it was probably the most formative thing was that things like that Demon in the Bottle arc, the Iron Man story.
Sure, I remember that.
Yeah, I mean, they took one of their A-listers and made him an alcoholic, like in the 70s. Right. Nobody was doing that. I mean, It was like, before that, it was all point and wink superhero ideals, and it's like, okay, well, let's take this guy who like has a perfect life seemingly, and let's like just smash it to pieces. And so, if you want to kind of loop it back around to my work, Banjax is in a way my answer to Demon in a Bottle. I mean, I've been working on that since I was 15 or something like that. So
you've been working on Banjax since you were 15?
Well, I mean, in a way, you know what I'm saying? It was like the seeds were planted when I was, young and pulled those back issues out.
Sure.
And it was just like, wow, it's like, because before then, I mean, I think I have a similar story with movies, and I'm sure you do too, because you're a filmmaker and stuff like that. But it was like, you grow up and comics, movies are kind of poppy entertainment for a while, right? And then whatever it is, you see a certain movie, for me, the ones that really grabbed me, Fargo, Boogie Nights, something like that. For comics, it was Demon in the Bottle, and then a lot of those early Vertigo comics. Preacher was a big one, and
Sure.
100 Bullets was still probably about my favorite comic book series.
I can see that influence in your work. Actually, that makes sense.
Interesting. Yeah. So it's like you see something like that, and it just fucking grabs you, and it's like, okay, well, this isn't child's play. This isn't just poppy entertainment. I mean, here, I'm not a snob. I'm a guy who gets paid to write big poppy action movies. Give me a Michael Bay movie any day of the week. Like if I'm if I need to choose between writing, between watching, the new Oscar bait or watching Passenger 57 for the 50th time, 200th time probably, I'm going to watch Passenger 57 every day of the week. Sure. And twice on Saturday. But sure. So I'm not, I'm not a snob about this, but you see a movie, you see a comic book, and it just grabs you, and you realize that this stuff can be art, that you can actually say something with these things, something important. You can in a very interesting and in-depth way kind of explore the human condition.
Sure.
And I was kind of coming,
and that's what Demon in a Bottle taught you.
Yeah, exactly. It was just again, I think that I was just so used to point and wink superhero ideals. These guys who they were perfect, and right. And they met a bad guy who wasn't perfect, and if you weren't perfect, you were a bad guy. Right. And so yeah, you look at Demon in the Bottle, and it's like, okay, well, this guy this guy has some bruises. This guy has some things to overcome.
And I should say, for those who aren't intimately familiar with it, Demon in the Bottle is an Iron Man run where Tony Stark falls completely, rock bottom into alcoholism. And it's a pretty legendary run, but it was a long time ago now. So
yeah.
just in case, and I'm sure it's collected. I'm sure you can find it.
Yeah. 100%. Marvel Unlimited, the whole 9 yards.
Was Aberrant your first comic book series? Ringo winning Aberrant, was that your first?
Ringo award-winning Aberrant, yes. First comic book series. Like I said, I tried it in college, but Aberrant was the first book, and it was weird because I was I'd written movies for a long time, and I was a good writer, but I had never done a comic book, and so you start to okay, well, how the hell do I do this? How do I organize this? How do I? And what I needed was some structure, and so I did a very smart thing. I went to my local comic shop. There was this amazing comic shop that I know you love called Meltdown Comics in the heart of Hollywood. It's kind of my
rest in peace, Meltdown.
Yeah, rest in peace. That unfortunately closed its doors a few years ago. But they they had kind of they had comic classes. They had kind of like a comic making group that's headed up by this old DC editor named Jim Higgins, who's
Jim's a great friend of mine. I love Jim.
Yeah, he's a great guy. And so, I found Jim, and I found, kind of a pack of fellow travelers there that were all kind of interested in making comics and helping me, push this boulder uphill. And so, we carved out this little group, and we kind of figured all this stuff out together with a lot of help from Jim, who had kind of been around the block 100 times. And I developed Aberrant inside Meltdown.
I did not know that. And how did that transition go for you? I mean, did you find it hard adapting to the format?
Not at all. So it was so invigorating to transition into comics. So
I totally agree. I had the same experience.
Well, yeah, and you come from a film background also, so you can probably plug right into this. But Hollywood, particularly the Hollywood that in which I have been, the corner of Hollywood in which I have been backed. They make like 4 different kind of films now, and that's it. And if you don't want to write those films, then there's no place for you. You know what I'm saying? Totally. Big superhero things, big action things, heist films, this, that, and the other thing. And they want you to write those films a certain way, and there's no room for, for dancing and bobbing and weaving and messing around and having fun. And so, I wrote for the better part of a decade in Hollywood, and I got really good at writing those films. I could write them in my fucking sleep. I could just phone them in, and they paid for my house.
Sure.
But I feel like we have these little fence posts in our in our careers and our lives, and so at some point, I got to about 10 years, and I was like, man, I don't know if I can do this for another 10 years. Like it sounds ridiculous sitting there like complaining about getting paid to write movies, because, almost anyone would swap, places with me.
As Ian Fleming once said, it reads better than it lives.
Yeah, exactly. And I wasn't happy at the time. I wasn't fulfilled. And so, so the beauty of comics is that you can do anything, as long as it is entertaining, as long as it grabs the reader, as long as it is good, and in fact, deviating from the norm is celebrated, which I think we saw with the Ringo Awards. And so, so when I didn't just do comics, I did comics almost as like occupational therapy. It was like, so when I sat down, I'm like, okay, well, I'm not just going to do this. It's like, if I'm going to do it, I made a pact with myself that I was never going to tell a straightforward story. And so I was going to double down on experimental elements and unreliable narrators, and I was going to play with time and structure. And I was going to got Tony Fabro calling me. That's fun.
Tony had trouble getting on the screen.
I don't know. Well, yeah,
texting him right before we went live. I got a question from the chat room from Chris Barrett. if you could write any Big Two character, who would you pick?
If I could write any Big Two character, wow. Yeah, I don't know. You know, it's like I feel like my answer is boring for that. I get that question a lot, and then I usually kind of
just give us the honest answer.
Well, what I was gonna say is I usually stumble through some Force thing on Moon Knight because that would be a little bit interesting, and I think I'd be a good fit for that. I Iron Man started this whole fiasco, so
Sure.
So that would be incredible. But everybody wants to write Iron Man. Everybody wants to write Captain America. I'm more of a Marvel guy than a DC guy. That was just how I grew up.
Sure.
But so my real answer to this question is that if I could write anything, like what would my dream job in comics be? I obviously wouldn't turn a Big Two comic, but the first thing is that I think I was born to write Cobra Kai for IDW. Johnny Lawrence is a spirit animal.
Okay.
Yeah, and so
I think that may have gotten lost in a glitch. What did you say was your dream comic?
Did it get lost in a? Give me 1 second. I have now Tony Fabro is texting me like crazy so I'm going to log out of my messenger. This is what happens when you're streaming from home. I'm actually I was in my office where I have a lot of the stuff that I need. My internet wasn't working back here, and so I have had to retreat to my toddler's room, and so I'm in a 3.5-year-old girl's room right now, speaking to you. So my dream job in the comics business right this minute, not that it won't change or anything, is I believe I was born to write Cobra Kai for IDW. Johnny Lawrence is my spirit animal.
That's great.
The entire Karate Kid, oeuvre has like become part of my soul.
It's okay for the Big Two to not be your goal. I mean, I say that I sort of whisper that at cons, and I'm like, I don't want to be overheard by any Marvel or DC editors saying I really would rather write Betty Page than Batman, but I really would rather write Betty Page than Batman.
Yeah.
There isn't 80 years of Betty Page continuity that I have to struggle with, and other people's story ideas that were pretty great that I have to compete with. There's me and Dave Stevens at this point. And Dave is, God knows, a big gun, but it's nice to not have to be going up against the best stuff that's ever been done in the industry every single time you open your mouth. Galmer said more ragdolls, please, and I promise more ragdolls is absolutely coming anytime soon. So
I don't know if it's apparent, but Gomer is one of the Comic Cast hosts.
Oh, nice.
So I'm repping Comic Cast on here, and I see the comics misexplained. Jason is another Comic Cast host who keeps trying to kick in here with Will the Robot from Rocky IV appear in future issues of Banjax, absolutely, and I will find a way to have other Rocky IV references because it's the greatest film that's ever made. Also, please send me the last script for Commando 2, and actually he set me up pretty good here. And so my other dream job in comics, and you'll appreciate this because this is right up your alley, is I have been working for a couple of years now trying to build this bridge between Hollywood and comics, meaning that again, I think that a Cobra Kai book was a great idea. You take this Karate Kid franchise. They showed that the reboot on YouTube was a great idea, and so of course, like, let's tell more stories in comic form. That's a great idea. And so I have been digging and digging, with all of my kind of studio connections, trying to acquire film properties to bring to life on in comic book form. And so my greatest my greatest dream, even more than Cobra Kai, was I wrote a film for Joel Silver a few years back. Actually, several years back at this point. I'm always minimizing the time, but there was this period of time where I was hanging around, a little bit in Joel Silver's offices, and with a little digging, I became aware of the fact that there is a script that D'Souza wrote for Commando 2, the Arnold, a sequel to the Arnold Schwarzenegger epic, the kind of action film that started, it's kind of the granddaddy of 80s action movies, and it is absolutely fucking batshit crazy bonkers. And it
Well,
ends.
it's not like the first film is a model of sanity and restraint.
Yeah, but but if that was like a 5 or a 6, this gets turned up to 11, and it literally it ends at a wedding with Arnold Schwarzenegger in a wedding dress, like blowing away bad guys. It was just phenomenal.
Fantastic.
And so and so I got this idea when Dark Horse brought that alternate Alien 3 script to life in graphic novel form. I don't want to get too much into the story because we don't have a ton of time, but there was this, Alien 3 got made, but there was this other script that the fans just loved, and it didn't get made. And so finally somebody at Dark Horse, like right. A lot of smart people at Dark Horse said, hey, let's make this into a graphic novel. And so I wanted to do that with Commando 2. Commando 2 never got made. It should have.
That's a fantastic. Yeah, it's like IDW doing the Harlan Ellison City on the Edge of Forever script.
Yeah.
As a comic.
Exactly. Yeah.
By the way, if anyone wants to see me and Vernon Wells do dramatic readings from Commando, go to YouTube and Google Vernon Wells dramatic readings, and you will find, during a burlesque show, Vernon and I recreated his death scene from Commando.
Wow, that is incredible.
Because we wanted to do something truly ridiculous. We have only 9 minutes left. I want to talk about what you're doing right now. What are you working on now?
I'm working on a gaggle of projects. So I have I basically have 5 other comic projects in the pipe. My real passion, again, getting back to that big 2 question is, I want to do my creator own stuff. I mean, Cobra Kai aside and Commando aside, I have a lot of stories that I want to tell that are, and I would love a bigger stage. So,
sure.
So
is anything in the works?
Yeah. Well, it's
when civilization. Yeah, if civilization survives the zombie apocalypse, which is obviously a big if right at this exact moment.
I had two that were set to go and set to be announced, and I don't know where those are at. Everybody's pencils down right now. Everybody's reorganizing. Yeah. A lot of things are getting cut, and so the question is, I don't know, but I am stockpiling material. I mean, I'm going to have, I'll have 5 books, and hopefully these things get released sooner rather than later. Hopefully these publishers kind of pick right up where they left off. But I'm doing a varied. I already kind of covered the whole superhero thing. Banjax is almost my answer to like Iron Man or Batman, and Aberrant was kind of my answer to Captain America a little bit. So I've done that. I've been there, and so it is varied. I have kind of like a thriller set in the world of astral projection that is pretty far along. I have a tokusatsu joint that's kind of like Fast and the Furious meets Voltron that I'm really excited about, and is almost done. Have like a Fargo-esque small town sheriff's department story that I'm working on. And then,
are you working on these at any specific publishers, or are you working on them and then you're going to bring them to publishers?
Well, again, I had 2 of these books with publishers, and right. and I'm not free to discuss that right now. Sure. The other ones are, the other ones are in various stages. I'm doing this pretty cool big time sci-fi thing with an old artist friend of yours, Kuber Ball.
Sure.
Yeah.
Kuber did Betty Page.
Yeah.
Me, and he's an incredible artist.
Yeah, he's a great artist, and he gushes
really
about you.
Terrific artist. I couldn't have been happier with his work for me.
Yeah, Kuber is definitely like a partner in crime. He's kind of one of my running mates, and so we have a couple of things on irons in the fire, and you will see those sooner rather than later. The other thing that's going on is Aberrant. Aberrant was nominated for won a Ringo Award last year. Was nominated for 2 others. Banjax is up for nominations right now, and everyone watching the stream, you get a vote. You get to decide who gets nominated, and so if you want to hop on RingoAwards.com and nominate Banjax and Ryland Grant in the appropriate categories, I would really appreciate that.
Fantastic idea.
Fantastic
someone
idea.
Did at Cheers to Comics podcast asked, when am I getting Drawing Blood 2 from Kickstarter? Ben is drawing the 2nd of 4 chapters. I've written 3 out of 4. So give Ben another couple of months to draw, and me another month. And so probably sometime this summer, that'll hit. Can we get a song? Is that usual in these I know I occasionally sing with Chaikin at conventions, but
Yeah, you sing with Shaken, and I sing a lot on my Instagram. What do you? Yeah, It looks like the moderators are going to jump in, but maybe we could. What do you? You got a song in mind?
We've got 5 minutes left, as far as I know.
What's it? I see. I have a minute on the thing, but
Okay.
what should we sing?
But what are you? That's funny. Kevin Eastman is in the.
Kevin
Eastman
is
in the waiting room, and he literally just texted me, "Nice haircut."
Nice haircut. Yeah, you're getting the. I feel like
we're about not used to seeing me look like Lex Luthor.
Kevin Eastman. Kevin Eastman.
Can we do
Kevin Eastman.
I'm embarrassed that I don't know the lyrics to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles song. Maybe Kevin will stop speaking to me because I said that I admitted that out loud. And I don't know that we want to owe Chuck Lorre.
Taught them to be ninja teens.
I don't know that we want to owe Chuck Lorre $15 for singing that out loud.
When the evil Shredder attacks, these turtle boys don't call him no slack.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
That is that. So you got your singing. Will there be more? Will there be more Aberrant? Will there be more Banjax?
I don't know about Aberrant. There could be more Aberrant. Aberrant was very quickly optioned for television by Tony Krantz, who did 24 and Felicity and a number of things like that. So Aberrant is now being developed as a TV series. So in that case, obviously you want a TV series to go 5 seasons, 7 seasons, something like that. So there'll be a lot more Aberrant that way. And if Aberrant's on TV, I'm sure there will be more books. Banjax, I still owe 4 more issues.
Oh, nice.
So it is. It was.
How many will that make total? I lost
track. There were 10 of Aberrant. The first volume of Banjax was 4, and so there'll be 4 more. And so, I always leave it open ended, but looks like we're about to get kicked off here. Yeah.
Oh, and I just want to make sure that everybody in the chat knows that we can get more David later on tonight on Mainframe Comic Con. David's going to be part of our artist and writer relationship panel, and that is at what time did I schedule that for? I don't know what time.
8 o'clock Pacific.
8 o'clock Pacific, 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and an hour before that, at 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, Ryland will be hosting a panel for us about publishing your first book, that first big book.
I'll watch that.
You want to get published, so you're going to get more Ryland tonight, and then more David immediately after. Thank you so much for coming and giving us a really great conversation.
Yeah.
We got you guys were singing his theme song just mere moments before Kevin Eastman.
I have a text here from Kevin. I'm assuming this is his wife Courtney saying Kevin loved the singing.
Nice. Incredible.
I know I love the singing. I know our next co-hosts absolutely love the singing. Thank you so much, guys, for coming on.
Our pleasure.
Everybody, go vote for Banjax for the Ringo this year. Let's get that thing another Ringo.